Zishi, do you still dare to sway this waist? Far away, don't worry. In the backyard of the family, a young man in a long robe looked at me sideways, and the words spit out from his mouth were like a knife, which made my heart ignite. His name is Li Hao, the youngest in the family, and his style magic is very good. He usually uses me as a gas cylinder. I lowered my head and bit my teeth tightly, my fists clenched, but I didn't say a word. It's not that I don't want to fight back, but I don't have that ability. From small to old age, my magical genius is like a joke. Don't say that I can't even use the most basic elemental sense. Everyone in the family said that I was a waste, and even my father was disappointed with me, wishing he had never given birth to me. What, you're so stupid? Or you won't even say anything about this waste? Li Hao's followers laughed, and his laughter whipped on my face like a whip. I raised my head and glared at him fiercely, as if there was a block of stone in my throat, and I couldn't even say a word. What are you glaring? Not convinced? Come on, try it out. Li Hao took a step forward, raised his hand and slapped my face, making my face hurt. I stumbled back a few steps, almost falling down, my brain buzzed, and my anger in my heart became even more intense. It's over, Li Hao. A crisp sound suddenly echoed, and I looked up and saw that it was a dream. She was wearing a long light blue dress, with a slight brow and a slight hue in her eyes. She is my friend from childhood to adulthood, and the only one who doesn't bother me. 1. The dream came to snatch the waste from the waist. Okay, you are all on the edges, it's just right to pour a bunch of them. Li Hao sneered, spat at me, and turned around and took his follower away. Zishi, are you okay? The dream walked over and held my arm lightly, his eyes filled with worry. I shook my head and smiled hard. It's okay, I'm not a bad person. Don't listen to the nonsense, you're not a waste. You just haven't found your own way yet. The dream bit his lip, trying to comfort me, but she didn't believe it. I lowered my head and didn't say anything, and my heart seemed to be hollowed out. Find your own way? Oh, it's not that easy. In the evening, the lights were bright in the family hall, and the clan leader called everyone to hold a meeting, saying that he wanted to choose a few young people to explore a new discovery. This thing was not enough to drive me, but Li Hao's guy stood up and pointed at me and said, Clan leader, Zixuan is useless usually. Why not let him follow him, and he can use a meat shield to slap the demons or something. There was a burst of laughter in the hall. The clan leader glanced at the eyebrows, but he didn't object, but said lightly, follow you. I stood behind the crowd, my face blue, and I understood in my heart that this was not an opportunity at all, and it was clearly trying to let me die. That night, I was protected by several tribe members to the entrance, and then they pushed me directly in and left without looking back. I fell on the cold stone floor, my knees broke my skin, and my breath was so painful that I sucked. It was pitch black all around, only a few faint light came through the gaps in the stone wall, and a decadent smell was filled with the air. Li Hao, you wait. I gritted my teeth and roared, and stood up with the stone wall. The hatred in my heart was almost about to penetrate my chest. What if it is hateful? I don't even have the ability to protect myself, so why would I ask for revenge? Just as Hussein was thinking, something hard suddenly stepped on under his feet. When he looked down, he saw a black stone plate the size of a palm, full of strange runes. I picked it up and wanted to look at it carefully. My finger accidentally drew a rune, and blood dripped on the stone plate. The next second, a dazzling white light suddenly lit up on the stone plate. My brain was stunned, and my mind was instantly pulled into an endless empty space. Mortal, you touched the power of taboos and were willing to accept the test and become the master of time? A low voice burst into my brain, as shocked as thunderbolt. I was stunned for a moment and immediately shouted, I'm willing. As long as I can make me stronger, I will accept any test. As the voice fell, a dramatic pain exploded from the depths of my brain. I fell to the ground and felt my soul be torn apart. I don't know how long it took, but the pain finally disappeared. I gasped and there was a lot of strange knowledge in my brain. Time magic. Swallowing, backflowing, acceleration, the power of these taboos is now all about me. I suddenly opened my eyes, clenched my fists, and an unprecedented sense of power surged over my heart. At this moment, a sound of walking came from a deep distance. I turned around and saw several people in black robes leaving, with a strong dark air scent on their bodies. "Hey, boy, hand over what you have in your hand, or you will die." The man in black robe opened his mouth coldly, and the staff in his hand had begun to condense black energy. My heart was tight, but I immediately sneered, "Wanna snatch it?" I raised my hand and slapped the spell in my brain. The power of time burst out instantly. Everything around it seemed like a pause button was pressed down. The men in black robe froze in place, unable to move their eyes. I strode over and punched the guy in the head. He flew directly out, hit the stone wall, and made a sound. This is the feeling of strength, it's so good. I looked at my fist, my heart beating like a drumbeat. The effect of the time chrome was quickly over. Other men in black robes came back to their senses, looked at me in shock, shouting in their mouths, "This kid is weird, withdraw." They turned around and ran away. How could I let them escape? He used the time magic again to speed up his movements, and caught up with one in a few steps, raised his foot and kicked him in the back, knocking him down directly. The remaining few sights were even more shocking, and they crawled into the deepest place. I stood there, gasping for breath, and my body was shaking, not because of fatigue, but because of excitement. This feeling of crushing enemies can be easily slaughtered. But before I could pass the air, a familiar laugh suddenly came from the entrance of the air. I turned around and saw that Li Hao's guy came back with someone, and he still smiled like a beating on his face. "Zishi, didn't expect you to be alive? But that's the end. I handed over the things in the waist, maybe I can save you a life." I narrowed my eyes, and my anger suddenly reached the top. "Li Hao, are you really the waste that I am still bullied? Come on, let me see you today, what is turning over?" He was stunned for a moment and laughed immediately. "Come on the back? Just hate you? Brothers, let me wipe him out." Several followers rushed over immediately, and the magic energy in their hands was ready to move. I snorted coldly, raised my hand and remembered the time, and the surrounding area calmed down again. I walked up to Li Hao, looked at his frozen face, and slapped him hard, and the crisp sound was rumbling in the air. He flew 3 meters away and fell to the ground, his face covered in blood. At the end of the time, Li Hao climbed up with his face covering his face, his eyes filled with shock. How could you have such power? How is that possible?" "Because I am no longer a waste that you can step on under your feet." I approached him step by step. With every word I said, the anger in my heart was reduced by a little bit, and replaced by unparalleled pleasure. "From today, who dares to provoke me again, I will make him regret living." Li Hao sniffed, crawled backwards, and said in his mouth, "Wait, the family won't let you go." After saying that, he turned around and ran away with the man, faster than a rabbit. I stood there, looking at their backs, and couldn't help but snoring the corners of my mouth. This kind of anti-strike pleasure is simply more damaging than anything else. But I also know in my heart that this is just the beginning. Time magic is a taboo power. The moment I wake up, I am determined to embark on an extraordinary path. A deep place suddenly came and a low growl came. I turned around and saw a pair of red eyes staring at me in the darkness. I clenched my fists and my heartbeat started to accelerate again. No matter what kind of demon he is or the dark force, I will step on 1 and 2. From today on, this large area will be trembling for my son. The fight in the middle of my life made my whole body look like a uterus and my body was filled with endless slacks. I looked at Li Hao's back as he helped the Emperor escape, and the feeling of pleasure in my heart was about to explode. However, I didn't dare to stay for too long. The master of the red-eyed ape in the deep corner had not shown up yet. He was really a big guy. I might not be able to withstand the magic when I just woke up. I patted the ashes on my body, put the black stone plate in it, and walked out along the way when I came. The brain was covered with pictures that had just crushed Li Hao, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help but keep swelling. But when I think about it, magic is a taboo power at this time, and I will never be able to show off my clothes at will. Otherwise, not to mention the family, the entire lighthouse may have grabbed me as an odd one. You have to hide it well, put it in a low-key manner, and then turn it around when the machine is up. When we returned to the family, it was already dawn. Several early-wake guys in the backyard saw me, their eyes were like ghosts. I guess I didn't expect that I could come back alive from the road. I ignored them and walked straight to my broken courtyard, planning to take a look at it first and sort out the magical knowledge in my brain. But when I opened the door, I felt that there was nothing wrong with each other. I got too much in the yard, and I didn't even have any small footprints left when the dreamers came to see me. My heart was tense, and I hurried to the place where she lived. I knocked on the door for a long time, but there was no slight silence inside. I asked several tribe members who had passed by, but they all said they had never seen the dream. Someone also sneered, "That girl probably thinks you are useless, have you run away?" Fuck. As soon as I heard this, the fire came up from the ground, grabbed the man's clothes and shouted, "I'll tear your mouth again." The guy shivered by my stare, and hurriedly said, I just said it, don't be real." I relaxed my hands, took a deep breath, and strengthened my anxiety in my heart. Dreams cannot be lost without reason. She has always been heartless about me and will never ignore me. Something must have happened. I bit my teeth and flew around my brain, and decided to go to the place she often went to first. I ran away in a few places but couldn't see it. I was sweating profusely. When I passed by the mountain behind my family, I suddenly heard a low cry. I touched the sound and hid behind the bushes. When I saw it was a young girl wearing the clothes of a servant in the family and squatting in the eyes. I realized that she was the little follower beside the dreamer, so I hurried over and asked in a low voice, "Xiaolan, what about the dreamer?" When Xiaolan saw that it was me, she almost screamed. I hurriedly covered her mouth and signaled her to make a small sound. She shivered, her eyes were falling down, and she continued to say, "Sister Zixuan, Sister Yang was captured." What? My brain buzzed and almost stood firm. Who caught it? Where? Tell me. Xiaolan sobbed and said that in the middle of the night yesterday, a man in black robe came in and directly drove the dream away, and his voice seemed to be like a person with dark force. They also said that if the family dares to report or pursue the letter, they will directly tear the votes. Xiaolan was not discovered because she was hiding in the cabinet, but she heard that the helper mentioned a place, saying that she had brought the dream to the Black Wind Valley deep in the mountains. Black Wind Valley. I murmured this name, and my heart felt like I was being stabbed by a knife. The Black Wind Valley is the most dangerous land in the back mountain. Not only is there a magical output, but it is also a point of dark power. Ordinary people basically go there without going back. But I can't control that much. Dreams are my most important person, not to mention the Black Wind Valley. Even if there's a sea of swords and fire in front of me, I have to do it. Xiaolan, don't say anything, I'll deal with this. I patted her on the shoulder, turned around and ran towards the Black Wind Valley. On the way, my heart beat like a drum beat, and my brain was full of dreams. She is so gentle usually, and I have never been dismissed. Now she is arrested because of the name of my waist, which is very tired. No, I can't let her have anything to do. When we arrived at the Black Wind Valley, it was completely dark, and the sound of the surroundings was like howling ghosts and wolves, which made people feel goosebumps. I gritted my teeth, lowered my body, and touched the path at the entrance of the valley. I didn't go far, but I saw a few men in black robes guarding outside an old campground. There was a wooden tool in the center of the campground. The figures inside were blurry, but I could tell the blue long skirt at a glance. It was a dream. My heart was so sad that I almost ran out, but reason told me that I couldn't do it. There are many people on the other side and dark magic. Even if I have time to use magic, I cannot guarantee that everyone can be dealt with at one time. You have to think of a way and take it wisely. I hid in the dark and watched carefully for a while. I found that there was a gap when I was in the shift. For about 5 minutes, there would be no guarding the entrance to the campground. I looked at the time and took advantage of the shift to sneak in and hid behind a broken tent. The dream was nowhere to go. I saw her lowered her head, her face was white, and there was blood on the corners of her mouth. It seemed that she had not been beaten a lot. How? Don't be afraid, I'm here. I gritted my teeth and the fire in my heart was almost blown out. But before I could get close to the shoji, I suddenly sneered from behind, "Yee, boy, I'm not a little shovel. How dare I gun our Black Wind Valley?" I turned around suddenly, and several men in black robe had already surrounded him. A Scar on the head was holding a black staff in his hand, emitting a strong dark breath. He looked me up and down, and laughed. "You are that waste, right? I heard that you don't want to live for this little girl, but it's quite a bit. Stop talking, let her go, otherwise you don't want to live either." I stared at him coldly, my hands were already clenched secretly, and I was ready to move time magic at any time. Scar laughed. "Just hate you? You dare to challenge us if you can't even feel the element. Brothers, take it down from me, don't kill me, I still have to keep him and change it." Several men in black robe immediately rushed up, and the dark magic energy in their hands condensed into a group of black fogs and smashed them towards me. My heart was tight and I immediately stopped. Raising my hand was just a memory of the time. Everything around him stopped in an instant, and the black fogs stopped in the air, as if they were trapped. I took advantage of this gap and quickly trampled behind Scar's face and kicked him hard on the knee. He fell to the ground. As the time was over, the Scar face was so painful that everyone else was stunned. It was obvious that I didn't expect that I could do this. I didn't give them the chance to react, so I rushed to the cap, kicked the lock and pulled the dream out directly. As soon as she saw that it was me, her eyes came down and her voice choked. "Zishi. Why are you here? It's so dangerous. Don't be stupid, why can I ignore you?" I gritted my teeth, held her behind me, and turned to stare at the man in black. "Who dares to move her, I'll kill him." Scar had already gotten up at this time, his face was blue and his teeth were gritting, and he roared, "Boy, you are indeed weird. This power is a taboo magic, right? The power of time, it's hard for you to be so crazy." As soon as he finished speaking, several men in black robes showed shocking and greedy eyes, and they all heard the words of time magic. "Since you know, you should understand how to mess with me." I snorted coldly, and my heart felt a little nervous. Although the time is awesome, my magic is limited and I have to stop after using it a few times. Now I have to take the dream away. But Scar's face obviously didn't plan to let me go. He raised his hand and slapped a black energy wave, which was so fast that I couldn't react at all. As he was about to hit me, the dream suddenly pushed me out and hit me in front of me. He was forced to get this hit. He flew backwards, fell to the ground, and spit out a mouthful of blood. "How?" My brain turned pale and I rushed over and hugged her, feeling so distressed that I felt like I was torn apart. She reluctantly smiled and said in a wandering manner, I'm fine, run away. Run away." My eyes were red, and my anger suddenly hit the top, and I turned around and stared at the Scar's face, almost talking from my teeth. "Don't even want to live today." I held the dream and flew quickly in the sea of my brain. The magic of time was no longer enough, but there was another trick: time backwards. I closed my eyes, concentrated all my energy, and silently recited the mantra. The next second, the scene around me was like a playback, and quickly retreated back a few seconds ago. The dream was not hit yet, and the energy wave on the Scar's face just came out. I rushed over, held the dream under my body, and took this blow. The dramatic pain made me hum, but my heart relaxed. The dreamer looked at me in panic and asked, "Zishi, why are you are fine, right?" "It's okay, it's a little bit." I gritted my teeth and stood up, smiled at her, turned to the Scar face, and my eyes were as cold as ice. "Come on, if you have another move to try." Scar's face was stunned for a moment. I guess he didn't understand what happened just now, but he quickly sneered, "Put it out, brothers, come on with me and kill him." Several men in black robes launched attacks at the same time, and the black fog came over the earth and the ground. I knew I couldn't fight hard, so I immediately stopped and took the time back again to let the scene go back to the second before they just launched the attack. This time I didn't take it hard, so I just pulled the dream out of the campground, and ran away and said in a low voice, "Yang, don't ask, I'll follow me if I believe it." The dream point is very weak, but I still gritted my teeth and followed me. They quickly caught up with the scars behind me. I ran around and delayed the time by alternately squeezing and backflowing. Although the magic consumed a lot, it finally made us penetrate the Black Wind Valley. When I arrived at the entrance of the valley, I was so tired that I was almost exhausted. I felt like my brain was hollowed out, and stars appeared in front of me. The dream is not much better. His face is as white as paper, leaning on my shoulder and panting. I bit my teeth tightly and said, "Don't be afraid, we're safe." She raised her head, her eyes filled with light, and she said in a low voice, "Zixuan, thank you. I know you are not simple, but no matter what secrets you have, I believe you." When I heard this, my heart warmed up, and all my fatigue seemed to be gone. I grinned, "Of course, who are we going to follow?" But before I could wait for me to be excited, a rapid sound suddenly came from afar, and the Scarface caught up with me again. He filled his face and shouted, "Boy, you can run away, the monk can't run away. I have seen through your time magic. Today you can't fly." My heart sank, knowing that I could not hide this time, but what I didn't expect was that there was a team of people coming out of the forest on the other side, wearing a uniform of the light, holding a staff and a long sword in my hand, approaching us straight towards us. A person in charge opened his mouth coldly, "Ze, I heard that you have woken up the power of taboos. Now the power of darkness has been spread. Come back with us for review, otherwise don't blame us for being rude." When I saw this frame, my skin was numb. In front is the pursuit of the dark force, behind is the suspicion of the light camp, and simply there is the wolf in front and tiger behind. I bit my teeth and kept the dream behind me, and said in a low voice, "Don't be afraid, please tighten me, let's kill you." She was a little bit of head, although she was afraid, but her eyes were full of trust. I took a deep breath, my brain flew quickly, and the magic of time was gone, but now it was not the time to retreat. No matter what, I will lead her to a sudden outbreak. Far away, Scarfaces and people who were in the light approached at the same time, and the murder in the air was almost solid. I clenched my fists, my heart beats like beating a drum, and I was ready to give it a try any time. I stood at the mouth of the Black Wind Valley, my voice scraping my face like a knife, and my heartbeat was so fast that it was about to explode. In front of it is a man in black robe with a scarred face carrying a dark force. His eyes are vicious, and the dark magic energy in his hand is rolling like a black fog. Behind was the team of horses running in the bright and bright. They were wearing uniforms, their staff and the long sword flashed in the cold light under the moonlight. The man looked as cold as ice, and he certainly didn't plan to give me good fruit. "Zishi, don't slap it. Hand over the secret of the power of taboos and go back with us." The head of Guangming Fang opened his mouth, his voice low, with an unquestionable sense of pressure. "Go back? Will you be your experience?" I sneered, clenched my fists, and kept the dream behind me. "If you want to catch me, ask me if I answer first." Scarface laughed at the other side, full of his face. "Boy, you are stubborn, right? If you don't hand over the time magic today, I will tear you and this little girl apart." The dream leaned behind me, and although his face was pale, he still said in a short voice, "Zia, don't worry about me, run away. There are too many people, you can't beat me." "Run? Impossible." I bit my teeth and my brain flew quickly. The magic is almost over, and the time is too late and the backflow will not be used for a few times. Fighting hard will definitely be a search for death. But I can't let the dreams fall into their hands, no matter whether it is the power of darkness or the light. I have no good intentions. "Go, grab me tightly, let's get out." I growled, staring at the Scarface in front of me, and decided to fight. There is another move in time magic that I haven't used: time acceleration. Although the risks are huge and the magic consumption is terrifying, there is no choice now. I closed my eyes and chanted silently in my brain. The remaining magic power in my body seemed to have been drained and instantly gathered all over my body. The next second, I felt the whole world slow down, but my movements were as fast as flash. The effect of time acceleration has raised my speed to the extreme, and I have left my voice behind. What? Scar's face had not reacted yet, and I had already held the dream in front of him, lifted my foot and kicked him hard in the chest. He flew out like a broken wind, smashed on the ground, spitting out a large mouthful of blood. Several men in black robes were not able to see clearly how I moved. "Stop him!" Scar yelled with his face covering his chest, but it was too late. I held the dream, as fast as a shadow. Several men in black robe condensed into dark magic, and were knocked down by me one by one, and even my screams were not enough. The light camp behind also responded, and several light magics hit me, but with the help of time, I opened all attacks and drove out of the encirclement circle. "Zijia, you!" The dream was hugged by me, and she shouted over her voice. She looked at me in surprise, her eyes filled with disbelief. I reluctantly smiled and gasped, "Don't ask, I'll be right." But the time acceleration effect did not last long, and the magic power was consumed too much. I just rushed out of the Black Wind Valley and felt like my brain was hollowed out. Venus appeared in front of me, and my pace began to stumble. The dream kept holding me, and his eyes were almost falling down. "Xiao, don't be too hard, rest quickly." "Stop, rest, the helper guy behind me is still chasing me." I bit my teeth tightly, stood up straight, turned around and saw that the Scarface had already chased after the helper on the light camp, and the helper in the light camp did not give up. The two horses were approaching with a swift look like wolves. "Boy, you can't run away." The sound of Scar's face came far away, with a heavy killing. My heart sank, knowing that if I run away, I will only be exhausted and I will have to fight back, otherwise I will be done with my dreams. "Go, hide away, and then hand it to me." I pushed the dream behind a large stone, turned around and faced the enemy who was chasing him, took a deep breath, and flew in my brain to count the final magic. Time acceleration can no longer be used, but the scalping and backflow can be used once or twice, and must be used on the blade. Scarface was carrying more than 10 men in black robe, and the dark magic energy came like a black fog. I immediately stopped and raised my hand to remember the time. Everything around him stopped in an instant, the black fog stopped in the air, and the squid expressions on the Scarface were frozen there. I took advantage of these few seconds to hit him, punched him hard on the face, and then kicked 2 men in black robe next to me with 1 foot. At the end of the time, Scar fell to the ground with his face covering his face, his mouth full of blood, and he roared, "Bastard! How strong is your forbidden power?" "I'm so strong that I can kill you." I replied coldly, but in fact, my heart began to feel guilty. The magic power was almost exhausted, his head was so damn that he was shaking his hands. But I can't show my timidity, I must scare them. Scar's face got up, his eyes were fierce, and he gritted his teeth and said, "Brothers, don't be afraid." "He won't be afraid. He will not be able to get on together and waste him to death." More than 10 men in black robe immediately rushed up, and the dark magic was soaring to the ground. I gritted my teeth and squeezed hard, and reluctantly used the last little magic to move back, allowing the scene to retreat a few seconds ago and avoid a fatal blow. But after this rewind, my magic was finally revealed, and my brain seemed to be hit by a slaughter, and my eyes turned black and I almost fell to my knees. Scar's face saw my weakness and sneered, "Boy, I have no tricks, right? Today is your death date." He raised his hand to condense a huge black energy wave and smashed it straight towards me. I knew I couldn't hide, so I felt a slight sluggish in my heart and was ready to bear it. But at this moment, the dream suddenly came out from behind the stone and pressed in front of me. The faint magic light of healing was lit up with both hands, and he took the shot. "Go!" My eyes suddenly turned red and I rushed over and hugged her. Her mouth was bleeding, her face was as white as paper, and she smiled reluctantly, "Zihu, I'm fine, you can't fall." Looking at her like this, the anger in my heart erupted like a volcano, and a strange force suddenly burst out from the depths of my brain, as if something was touched. I growled, my eyes were red, and the magic in my body began to flow backwards, as if it was squeezed out by force. "Scarface, you mother is looking for death!" I yelled, and the power of time magic exploded again. This time it was not a scalp, nor was it a rewind, but an acceleration of time, which directly acted on myself. My speed and strength instantly rose to the extreme limit, and my whole person rushed towards the Scar's face like a thunderbolt, and his fist was thundering the sound of breaking through the air, slamming his chest. Bang! There was a huge sound, and the Scar's face was blown away by me, and my chest was sunken. I fell to the ground and hummed without even a sound, and I had no breath. The other men in black robe were all dumbfounded and stood there, forgetting even the attack. "Are you still fucking me? If you don't want to die, just swollen." I turned and stared at them, my voice as low as a wild beast. They were shocked by my storm. Several legs knelt down softly, and the rest of them ran away, and they didn't dare to go back. I stood there, gasping for breath, and my body was shaking. Although this force is extremely powerful, the price is also high, and the body seems to have been hollowed out, and even standing is free. The dream held me, and my eyes couldn't stop flowing. "Zihu, you're so in trouble. What should I do if something happens to you?" "Follower, I'm not in trouble, we'll all be done." I smiled reluctantly, touched her head, turned around and saw that the helper of the Guangming camp had arrived, stopped far away, and looked at me with a complex look. The man left for the head, looking at me up and down, with a shock in his language. "Zixuan, you really feel awakened from the magic of time. Just that hit, even the head of the dark force was killed by you in seconds. This power is really too terrifying." "Horror? Then what do you want?" I looked at him coldly, and my hands were shaking, but my breath could not be reduced. The dream grabbed my arm tightly and said in a low voice, "Zijia, don't urge, they have many people." The leader did not answer directly, but turned to his subordinates. "If you report this, you must know that the reappearance of time magic may be the key to saving the world or the beginning of the destruction." After speaking, he looked at me again and his temperament was calmer. "Zixuan, we don't plan to make it difficult for you, but you must go back with us. The light camp needs your strength to fight against the power of darkness." "Do you need my strength? Or do you want to use me as a tool?" I sneered, and I understood in my heart that this help is very good, but when I really go back, I will probably be treated as a test product and be closed. The head of the head stared at the eyebrows and didn't say anything else, but just waved his hand and signaled his subordinates to come over. My heart was tight and I knew I couldn't resist, but now I was exhausted and I couldn't escape it. At this moment, a sudden hurried sound of horse hoof came from afar. Then, a team of people wearing high-end uniforms in the Guangming arcade arrived. The head was a middle-aged man with a strong aura and a sharp look. "Stop!" He opened his mouth and calmed down in an instant. Head leader was busy with the ceremony and said, "Long Lao Lin, this kid felt awakened from time magic, and just killed the head of the dark force. The power was extremely dangerous. We were about to take him back for investigation." Chang Lao Lin glanced at me, and there was a flash of surprise in his eyes, but it quickly returned to its tranquility. He walked over and said in a deep voice, "Zi, I heard you, the wastewood in the family, and I didn't expect that such potential would be exploded. Time magic is a taboo, but it is also hope. Do you want to join the light campaign and fight the dark forces with us?" I was stunned for a moment, but I didn't expect him to be so straightforward. Join Guangming campus? It sounds good, but who knows what medicine they sell in the gourd? I gritted my teeth and said, "It's okay to join, but I have the conditions. First, Dreams must be safe, and no one can move her. Second, I don't act like your puppet. I'll decide how to use time magic." Chang Lao Lin was silent for a while and said, "Okay, I'll promise you. But you must also understand that once time magic is exposed, the power of darkness will catch you at all costs, and there are people inside the light camp that will regard you as threatening. Your path is difficult to walk. You have to leave even if it's hard to leave." I snorted coldly, holding the dream straight. As long as I can protect the person I care about, no matter what dark force or internal threat he is, I will step on one. Chang Lao Lin had a flash of appreciation in his eyes and said, "I have courage." From today on, you are a special member of Guangmingyuan, but your identity and strength are always kept confidential, and only the high level knows it. After I go back, I will arrange for someone to protect you and this girl." I clicked my head, but I didn't completely let go of the precepts in my heart. It is a good thing to pay attention to me on the surface, but the risks behind it are also greater. Some people think I am hopeful, some people think I am threatening, and this split attitude will cause me to fall into greater trouble. Old Mr. Lin, that dark and powerful man. The head pointed at the man in black who was running away from home and asked in a low voice. "Don't chase, strengthen your defense after you go back. The dark force will soon have a big move." Chan Lao Lin turned his head and looked at me. "Zichan, if you kill them today, the news will be spread soon. Your name may shake the entire mainland." My heart thumped. I didn't expect that things would be so big. But when I think about it, I will shock you. If you dare to come and provoke me, I will make him regret living. The dream leaned against me and said in a short voice, "Zixuan, no matter how difficult it is, I will accompany you." When I heard this, my heart warmed up and I grinned. "Okay, with you here, I'm not afraid of anything." Mr. Lin brought someone to take care of us and sent us out of the Black Wind Valley. On the way, my brain was full of just-in-one battle scenes. The pleasure of bursting out potential and crushing enemies can simply make people suffer. But I also know that this is just the beginning. The secret of time magic can no longer be hidden, and the large-scale report of the power of darkness and the internal contradictions between the light industry will soon follow. Far away, a trace of fishy whiteness appeared around the sky, and a new day was coming. I clenched my fists and my eyes were calm. No matter what is ahead, my sun has to stand at the highest point, so that this large area will shake for me. But at this moment, a low voice suddenly came from afar, like a prelude to a war, making people feel nervous. Back in the land where Guangming County was built, Menghu and I were arranged in a remote but forest-superior courtyard. Chang Lin said that it was to protect us, but this framework looks like a ban on any means. I was sitting in the yard, thinking about the battle in the Black Wind Valley. The explosion of time magic made me feel incredible, but at the same time I also knew that the stronger this power, the more numb it would be. "Zishao, what are you thinking?" Dream walked over with a bowl of hot pot soup, his eyes full of worry. She was still hurt, but she was taking care of me. I took the bowl and smiled reluctantly. "It's nothing, I just think this place is not simple, we have to be careful." She clicked her head and sat next to me, saying, "I heard the chat of the guards and said that the high-level people have a lot of opinions about you. Some people think you are the savior, and some people think you are blowing at a certain time and you are not in a fight." I snorted coldly, took a sip of the medicine, and was so bitter that I said, "Go and fight, I'm not here to play their pawns anyway. When you get hurt, we'll find a chance to leave." But just after saying that, the courtyard was suddenly pushed open, and Chief Lin walked in with a few people wearing high-end uniforms, making people breathless. He glanced at me and said in a deep voice, "Son, the high-level meeting has just ended, and there is a preliminary decision on your position. You have two choices, one is to stay in the ground, receive supervision and training, the other is to actively prove your value, complete a task, and change your freedom and trust." "Mission?" I narrowed my eyes, moved my heart and asked, "What mission?" Mr. Lin didn't sell Guanzi and said directly, "A space-time crack was found in the northern part of the mainland. It was said that the highest magic weapon in the world, the core of time and space, can make time magic evolve to an extreme. But it is extremely dangerous and the guardian demons are strongly separated. The few troops sent before have been completely defeated. If you can get the magic weapon, you can not only prove yourself, but also make great contributions to the Guangming campaign." After hearing this, my heart thumped. The core of time and space. It sounds perfectly matched with my time magic. If I can get it, I might be able to give my strength another stage. Who would dare to use me as a chess piece? But I didn't show up on my face, but just asked coldly, "Why choose me? This mission is no different from killing me." Chan Lao Lin had a flash of appreciation in his eyes and said, "Because you are the only person who can control time magic, the time and space splitter is an opportunity for you, and it is a dead end for others. Moreover, to be honest, people at high levels want you to die in it, so there is no need to argue about how to deal with you. Ha, straightforward. I sneered and turned to look at the dream. She bit her lip and certainly didn't want me to go, but she still said in a low voice, Zixuan, if you decide to go, I will accompany you. I slammed my head. No, you are not hurt. If you go, you are dragging your back legs. Stay here, it's safe. Safety fart. Meng suddenly raised her voice, her eyes were red. I'm not relieved to be the people here. Besides, my healing magic can help you, don't underestimate me. Looking at her stubborn look, I felt a little soft in my heart and said, okay, but I'm not allowed to come when I hear me. Chief Lin pointed at the head and said, that's it. If you set out in 3 days, you will be supported by a team on the way to take you to the entrance of the harbor, but after entering, you can only rely on yourself. After speaking, he turned away, leaving a few guards to keep staring at us. 3 days passed in a flash. On the day of departure, it was not yet dawn, and I and the dream were taken outside the land. There were 10 people in the team. The head was a guy named Zhang Meng. He played a good game of fire magic, but he looked at me with a little disdain. It was probably a high-level delegation to monitor me. I ignored him and helped the dream get on the horse. All of my brains were about the core of time and space. The journey was not close. After walking for 5 days and 5 nights, I encountered several small-scale dark force attacks during this period, but they were all solved by Zhang Meng and others. Dream and I didn't take action, so we saved our strength. Anyway, these little tricks are not worth my waste of magic. On the evening of the 6th day, we finally arrived at the entrance to the space-time crack. Looking far away, the place seemed to have been torn apart by something, and the air was filled with strange waves. The trees around it were twisted like monsters, making people feel cold and goosebumps. Here, don't expect us to save you after you go in. Zhang Meng threw down coldly and retreated a few hundred meters away with his team, obviously not planning to get close. I ignored him and said to the dreamer, you are ready? You may have no return when you go in. She tilted her head, held the staff in her hand tightly, her eyes fixed. I'm ready, as long as I'm with you, go anywhere. My heart warmed up and I grinned, then let's go, let's lift this broken rope. The moment I stepped into the road, I felt like a strange force was wrapped around my whole body, as if I was about to tear people apart. The magic of the dream lit up at once, which helped me to relieve it, but her face turned a little white. I gritted my teeth and said, save a little magic, I don't know what's next. It was pitch black inside, and only the blue light that kept flashing around illuminated a little. The surrounding stone walls were full of ancient runes, and the air was filled with a decadent smell. It was crunching on the broken bones under its feet. My heart tightened, clenched my fists, and prepared to use magic at any time. Not long after leaving, a low growl suddenly came from the front, like the sound of a wild beast, but it also brought a strange echo. I signaled the dream to stop and said in a low voice, if there is something, hide behind me. She pointed, and a faint light had already lit up on her staff, ready to support at any time. The next second, a huge demon came out of the darkness, 3 meters tall, with black pieces, double-eyed agaricus, and blood dripped from its claws, as if something had just been torn apart. My heart was thrilled. This guy's aura was stronger than those of the black-robed men in Black Wind Valley. He probably was a vicious guardian. Go back. I shouted and raised my hand to remember the time. Everything around me stopped in an instant, and the demon's claws stopped half a meter away from me, and the cold light of the sharpness made my back swell. I took advantage of these few seconds to quickly surf it and punched it hard on the waist. The pieces were cracked by me. As time ended, the magic roared in pain and turned toward me, and was so fast that it was far away. I gritted my teeth and took the time to speed up, making my movements twice as fast, avoiding its claws, and kicking it on its knees with one foot, causing it to stumble. But this guy has thick skin and no big deal at all, and he roars and then comes up. Zixuan, be careful. Meng suddenly shouted, and the light of healing magic instantly covered me, making my wound that was just scratched by the claws quickly fit. My heart warmed up and I shouted, "Don't waste magic, find a chance to hit it in the eyes." She pointed at her head, slammed her staff, and a faint arrow of light shot out, heading straight for the left eye of the demon. The demon was in pain and roared and turned towards the dream. I saw that it was not good, so I immediately took the time to return to the scene a few seconds ago. Before the demon had not turned around, I punched it on its back. With all his strength in this blow, the magic finally let out a snorted sound and shook it, as if he was stunned. "Go, now!" I roared. She was pleased, her staff was shining brightly, and 2 light arrows shot out, hitting the demon's eyes. It ran away, slapped its claws, but lost its vision and attacked. It was not accurate at all. I took advantage of the opportunity to hit it several times, and each hit was powered by the acceleration of time, and finally smashed it to the ground with a reluctance to growl, and I couldn't stop silence. I stood there, gasping for breath, sweating, and most of my magic was consumed. Dream ran over to support me, and his eyes were almost falling out. "Zixuan, are you okay? It's too dangerous." I grinned and patted her on the shoulder. "It's okay, isn't this done? Let's cooperate, there's no enemy in the world." She burst into tears and smiled, pointing, "Well, there is no enemy in the world." I looked at her smiling face, and the fatigue in my heart disappeared in an instant. I turned to look at a passage behind the demon and said, "Let's go, the core of time and space should be right in front, we can't go there in vain." Walking forward along the passage, the waves in the air became stronger and stronger. I could even feel the magic of time being in my body, as if responding to something. As I walked to the end, a huge fort appeared in front of me. A crystal nucleus the size of a fist floated in the center, emitting light from blue and white. The space around me was twisted by it, as if it would collapse at any time. The core of time and space. I murmured, my eyes straightened. The breath of this thing is exactly the same as the time magic in my body, and it is definitely my dish. But before I could get closer, runes suddenly lit up around the sacrificial foreground, and then the ground began to shake, as if something was about to wake up. "Z, be careful." The dreamer grabbed me and held my staff tightly. I clicked the head, and just prepared to set off the development time, and the ground suddenly cracked, and a magic worm that was bigger than the moment just crawled out, emitting a terrifying sense of pressure, like the last guardian of this terrifying moment. As soon as it appeared, the roar trembled so hard that the stone wall was falling apart, and the eyes locked us tightly, as if we were treating us as treasures. "Yang, it's still an old routine. If you slap the eye, I'll find a chance." I growled and rushed up to attract the attention of the demon. Its claws slammed, carrying the sound of tearing space. I used time to speed up and barely avoided it, but a blood mark was still scratched on my body, which made me suck my breath. The dream took advantage of the opportunity to launch the light arrow and hit the magician's eyes several times, but this guy's piece was too hard and the light arrow could not break the defense. "Z, it's useless. My magic can't hurt it," she shouted anxiously, her voice silenced. I gritted my teeth and turned my brain quickly. If I can't fight hard, I must be smart. Suddenly, I noticed several broken stone pillars beside the fortress. The spirit waved and shouted, "Go, lead it to the stone pillar." She pointed her head and used light arrows to slam the magic beast. I used the time to delay the time and led it towards the stone pillar. When it approached, I suddenly accelerated my movement time, and slammed behind it, kicked it on its back leg with all its strength, causing it to lose balance and hit the stone pillar. The cracked stone pillar hit its brain and made a huge sound. The demon roared with pain and finally fell down, smashing the dust on the ground. "It's done!" I gasped, feeling that the magic power in my body was almost dry, but seeing that the magic was no longer silence, the feeling of pleasure in my heart was bursting. The dream came over and the healing magic lit up again, helping me stop the bleeding, and complained in my mouth, "You are so ill-fated, what if you don't hit me? Come again if you don't hit it." I grinned and helped her walk towards the sacrificial priest. There was no obstacle this time, so I reached out and touched the core of time and space. As soon as I encountered it, a huge stream of information flowed into the brain. The various secrets of time magic flashed in front of me like movies. I felt the power in my body was expanding at a speed, as if I was about to break a boundary. Zishi, what's wrong with you? The dreamer looked at my painful expression and shouted in an anxious voice. I gritted my teeth and roared, "It's okay, this thing is helping me advance." As soon as the voice fell, the core of time and space suddenly turned into a ray of light, diamonding into my body. My whole body was wrapped in blue-white light, and my magic was flooded like a volcano explosion. The control of time, reflux, and acceleration instantly increased several times, and even a new ability, time distortion, which could shortly change the time flow rate around, causing the enemy to fall into chaos. After the progression lasted for a few minutes, after the light dissipated, I stood there, feeling that my body was full of strength, as if I had lost my fetus and changed my bones. I swept it with my hands, and the distorted power of time moved. A stone next to me instantly aged into powder. Even the dreamer was stunned and murmured, "Zia, you are so strong." Strong? That's just beginning. I clenched my fists and grinned, feeling that I was one step closer to the world. But before I could wait for me to be excited, the sudden shock suddenly started to shake, as if I was being disturbed by some force. My heart was tightened, and I pulled the dream and ran out. "No, this place is going to collapse," so tightly. We ran all the way and finally rushed out before the collapse. Zhang Meng's helper was still outside. Seeing us coming back alive, her eyes were complicated, especially the new breath radiating from me, which made them subconsciously take a few steps back. Zhang Meng asked coldly, "Where is the magic weapon?" I got it, but it has nothing to do with you." I snorted coldly and helped the dream to leave. But at this moment, a deep smile suddenly came from the sky, as if it was coming from the depths of the earth, making people unable to breathe. I turned around and saw that the sky was covered by a group of black fogs. A tall figure slowly appeared, and his body was filled with a breath of destruction. His eyes were as cold as if he was looking at a hole. The inheritor of time magic. Zixiao, I heard that you have obtained the core of time and space, which is very good, and it saves me a lot of trouble. The man spoke, his voice was low and full of pressure. "I am the master of the power of darkness. If you hand over the magic weapon, I will give you a happy way of death. Otherwise, I will let you watch this film fall into eternal night. Keep the country." My heart was shocked, and I clenched my fists, feeling unprecedented pressure. This guy's atmosphere was stronger than any enemy. Just looking at him, my time magic was shaking, as if warning me. But I didn't show any timidity on my face and sneered, "Want a slap? Come and try it, I want to see how capable you are." Jiang Wo had a flash of excitement in his eyes and snorted coldly, "There is a kind. I hope you can snatch the day when I crush you with my hands." The light is in full swing, ready to welcome the battle. After speaking, his figure disappeared slowly, the black fog dissipated, but the murder in the air never dissipated for a long time. Zhang Meng and the others were all dumbfounded and couldn't even say anything. I turned to look at the dream and saw that her face was pale, and it was obviously shocked by the enthusiasm of founding the country. I held her hand and said in a low voice, "Don't be afraid, no one can move you with me." She smiled a little, "I believe in you, but the war is really coming, what are we going to do?" I took a deep breath, my eyes fixed. "War? Then fight. Whether it is the founding of the country or the dark power, my son will not let go of any of them." Far away, the cloud layer in the sky began to roll, like a sign before the rain. I stood there, time magic flowing in my body, and my fighting spirit rose higher than ever before. No matter what is ahead, I have to use these two hands to tear off all obstacles and stand to the highest point. Jiang Wo's figure disappeared from the sky, but the anxiety in my heart became heavier and heavier. After returning to the capital of Guangming, the battle was finally overwhelmed. The dark force seemed to be crazy, launching attacks from all over the mainland. The black fog covered half of the sky. Wherever the army formed by the demons and the black-robed men arrived, the village was burned into ashes, the city was scattered into ruins, and the spirit was brimmed with charcoal. The response of the Guangming campaign seemed so powerless. There were soldiers and crying everywhere in the land, and the military was as low as the wall had entered the deep penis. I want to see you at the high level. Long Lao Len found me, his face was blue and his language was filled with an urgent need. I clicked the head and followed him into the negotiation hall with my dream. The hall was filled with people, and the high-level buildings in the bright city looked solemn, and the map was marked with red and lost areas, and there was almost no clean place to be seen. You have also seen the situation. As the dark force comes, our defense has collapsed halfway. An old man with white hair opened his mouth. He is the chief old man of the Light Army, and his voice is full of majesty. The founding country will lead the team and destroy the magic wherever there is no one to fight. We need your time magic to help us turn the battle. Turn the game? It's a coincidence. I snorted coldly and glanced at them. You used to treat me as a miserable person. Are you begging me now? Okay, I can take action, but there are conditions. After the battle, my freedom and dreams must be guaranteed, and who should not want to use us as pawns? Several high-level layers looked at each other and their faces were not very good-looking, but in the end they still agreed. The chief old man said in a deep voice, "Okay, we will agree to you. Tomorrow morning, you will go out with the main team, with the goal of the northern defense line, which is the main attack direction of Jiangwo. If you can't defend, the entire Guangming campaign will be finished." I didn't say anything anymore, and left the office with my dream. When she returned to the courtyard, she held my hand, her eyes filled with worry. "Zixuan, this war is too dangerous. You have seen the aura of building a country, thousands of times." She didn't say it, but her eyes were already red. "What are you? Are you afraid I will die?" I grinned and pinched her face. "Don't worry, I haven't seen any scene in my life. No matter how strong the country is, I want him to know that time magic is not easy to mess with." She was amused by me, but she still said in a low voice, "No matter what, I will go with you, and my healing magic can help you." I wanted to refuse, but looking at her stubborn eyes, I still spoke. "Okay, but I heard me, I don't want to come in danger." She pointed her head, leaned on my shoulder, and said lightly, "With you here, I'm not afraid of anything." As soon as the next day was dawn, the troops of Guangming were assembled and opened to the northern defense line in a sturdy manner. Dream and I followed the main team, surrounded by thousands of magicians and warriors, and the air was filled with tight and suppressed breath. On the road, some injured soldiers were carried back, covered in blood, shouting dark force and destroying magic, which made people's head numb. By the time we reached the northern defense line, the war scene was already a land scene. The black fog covered the earth, and the dark force of troops rushed towards him like a tide. The roar of the demons and the sound of the magic explosion formed together. The defense line of Guangming's camp was pressed to retreat during the day, and the soldiers on the front line were almost filled with their lives, but they still couldn't resist the opponent's attack. "Zixuan, are you ready?" Chief Lin came to my side, his face covered in sweat, and there was still magic waves on his staff, which seemed to be coming down from the front line. I clicked the head and said coldly, "Are you ready to kill me?" He didn't laugh, but just patted me on the shoulder. "Don't come, save your strength, Jiangwo has not shown up yet." I didn't say anything more, and turned to the dream. "Let's find a safe place, don't be too far away from me." She pointed and held the staff tightly. The light of healing magic had already lit up, ready to support at any time. I took a deep breath, and the magic flowed in my body. My eyes locked the enemy in front of me, and the fighting spirit in my heart was burning like fire. Drunk the wastes of the light arcade. Beside the dark force, a man in black robe, who was like a head, was slammed into the front, and the dark magic in his hand condensed into a huge black ball and smashed it straight towards us. The magicians in the lighthouse were busy developing defense to the boundary, but they were still bombed and several dozen soldiers were swallowed in an instant, and their screams were so harsh that they were heartbroken. "Looking for death?" I growled and raised my hand and remembered the time. The range of hundreds of meters around was instantly calm, and the man in black robe and all the dozen enemies around him were stationed in place, and the black ball was stopped in midair. I took advantage of these few seconds to hit the front of the head, and with the acceleration of my blessing, I punched him in the chest, directly hitting him, and my chest was sunken, and I lost my breath at that moment. At the end of the time, the enemy was stunned for a moment, and immediately burst into a terrifying shout, "This guy is a monster. Time magic is that guy." I didn't respond to them. The distorted power of the time moved, and the movements of the nearby enemy became chaotic in an instant. Some were as slow as the old man, and some were so fast that they collided together, and the scene was in a mess. The soldiers here in Guangming camp were very excited, and someone shouted, "Zixu is here. We are saved." I gritted my teeth and continued to slam the magic, using it alternately, gathered together, accelerated the burst, twisted and confused, and killed a bloody path among the enemy. The attack of the dark force was cut off by my waist, and the light camp took advantage of the opportunity to counterattack. The magic and sword finally stabilized the defense line. "Zixi, you're doing a pretty job." Mr. Lin came from behind and finally had a smile on his face. I gasped, wiped the blood from my face, and grinned, "This is wherever I go. Zhang Wo is not coming, so I'm not as happy." As the voice fell, the sky far away suddenly darkened, and a breath of destruction came over like a mountain. In the dark, a tall figure appeared slowly. It was Zhang Wo. "Zixi, it's you." Zhang Wo's voice was as low as thunderbolt, and his eyes were so cold that it made people feel cold. Time magic is indeed a bit meaningful, but it's over here. Today, I want to crush your hopes with my hands and let the light camp be completely clean and ruin. Crush me? Come and try. I bit my teeth and turned around. The magic power in my body exploded like a volcano. Zhang Wo snorted coldly, and raised his hand and saw a magic of destruction. The black energy wave rolled over like a sea. The ground along the way was torn apart, and the air was burned. The soldiers in the Guangming arcade retreated in shock, and some people were directly affected and instantly turned into ashes. "Do not!" I yelled, and the time burst suddenly started, barely holding the forward that had hit, but the power of the country was too strong, and the effect of the crack collapsed after only 2 seconds. I gritted my teeth and accelerated with time, and opened the dozen soldiers around me, but I was still swept by the waves, and my body felt like I was cut by a knife, and my blood instantly dyed my clothes. Zijia. The dream came from behind, and the magic of healing was shining brightly, helping me stop the wound, but her face was as white as paper, which obviously consumed a lot of magic. I gritted my teeth and said, "Yuan, after retreat, I will hand this guy over to me." She slammed her head, her eyes almost falling down. "No, I can't watch you die." "Send to death? I'm not alive yet." I growled and stood up straight. The distorted power of time exploded again. The space around Zhang Wo became chaotic in an instant, and even his movements were half a beat slower. I took the opportunity to rush up, and with the acceleration of my blessing, I punched him in the chest, and the fist brought the sound of the air and hit hard. But Zhang Wo just sneered, and the black fog around his body exploded instantly. My fist seemed to hit the steel plate, and my hand bones were almost cracked. He snatched his hand lightly, and a black light directly knocked me away. I fell to the ground, and my inner body seemed to be broken, spitting out a mouthful of blood. "Zia!" The dream screamed and rushed to me. Healing magic was poured into me desperately, but Zhang Wo would not give her the opportunity. He raised his hand in another magic that destroyed it straight towards us. My brain turned white, and I turned back the last magical movement time, and retreated a few seconds ago, and reluctantly avoided this fatal blow. "How, run!" I gasped and pushed her out, but she hugged me tightly and cried, "I won't leave. I'll die together." Zhang Wo walked up with a sneer, his temperament filled with mockery. "It's so touching, but unfortunately, in the face of the absolute power, your piercing is just a joke." He raised his hand to condense a huge black energy ball, his atmosphere 10 times stronger than before, and it was obvious that he wanted to solve us with one blow. I looked at the energy ball, and an unprecedented hope surged in my heart. The magic has dried up, and the time magic cannot be used. How can I really die here? I bit my teeth and my brain was filled with dreams, and the points from small to large flashed like movies. She suffered so much pain and sorrow for me, and even wanted to save my life. No, I can't let her die. Yuan, I'm sorry. I said in a low voice, pushed her suddenly, stood up with the last force, pressed her in front of her, and prepared to take the strike of Jiangwo. But just as the energy ball was about to hit, the dream suddenly rushed in front of me, and his hands lit up the light of healing magic, and he took the shot. No! My eyes suddenly became red. I watched her swallowed by the black light. She flew backwards and fell to the ground. Her blue skirt was stained with blood, and her breathing became weak. My brain buzzed, as if it was struck by lightning. The pain and anger in my heart were like a volcano erupting, almost breaking through my chest. Keep the country. You mother will die for me. I yelled, and a strange force suddenly burst out from my body, as if some shackle had been broken. The core of time and space flew wildly in the body, and the power of time magic exploded in an unprecedented way. My whole body was wrapped in blue and white light, and my wounds quickly merged, and the magic power was flooded like a scattered one. This is... Jiangwo was stunned for a moment, and finally a shock in his eyes. I didn't give him the chance to react. The three forces exploded at the same time, and the area of thousands of meters around was instantly controlled by me. The army of dark forces seemed to be pressed down, and the actions of the country were forced to be enforced for several seconds. Go to die. I growled and rushed to Jiangwo. With the acceleration of time, the fist hit him like thunder. Each blow brought the power of time twisting, causing his defense to collapse. He finally hummed, and the corners of his mouth were bleeding, and he was obviously injured by me. Creating the country, today is your death. I gasped, and the power in my body was still rushing wildly. I broke through the limit of time magic to a new realm. Jiangwo fell to the ground, covered in blood, and his eyes finally felt fear, but he sneered and said, Die. It's still early. Boy, remember, this is just the beginning, the dark force will never fade. After speaking, his figure flashed, turned into a group of black fogs and disappeared, and it seemed that he had escaped. I stood there, gasping for breath, and my body was shaking, not because of fatigue, but because of the feeling of crushing the enemy. The dark force of military forces ran away, and the military collapsed in an instant and retreated like a tide. A shout broke out from the Guangming campus, and someone shouted, Zia! We win! But I didn't have the time to listen to these things. I turned around and hugged my dream body, picked her up, and my voice was trembling, Wait, wake up, don't scare me. Her face was as white as paper, and the corners of her mouth were still covered with blood, but her eyelids moved slightly, and she opened her eyes tightly, and said in a slight sense of gaze, Zijia, you're fine, it's great. Silly, what can I do? My eyes were almost falling down, hugged her, gritted her teeth, You may have something to do, have you heard it? We said we should stand at the highest point together. She smiled reluctantly, and the sound was almost unheard, Well, together. Mr. Lin came over with people and saw the dream in this state, so he was busy arranging the magicians to come and help. I stood firmly beside her, my heart was like a knife. If she hadn't beaten that, I would have been out of my life long ago. I would have been so kind and loved that I could not even understand. The battle gradually calmed down, the dark force retreated without any trace, and the light camp began to clean up the slaughter. I sat beside the dreamer, watching her being surrounded by healing magic. My face finally got better, and the stone in my heart was slightly lowered. Chan Laolin walked over and patted my shoulder. His words were filled with emotion, Zizhu, I have missed you more today, otherwise the northern defense line will be over. Your time magic has surpassed everyone's imagination. So what if you surpass me? I looked at him coldly, the founding of China has not died, and the war has not ended. You should remember your promises at your high level. Don't wait for me to come back to calculate your claim. He pointed at him, and didn't say anything more, but just asked someone to take care of his dreams. As night fell, the battleground was filled with bonfires and groans of soldiers. I sat beside the dreamer, holding her hand, my brain full of just known battle scenes. Although Jiang Wo escaped, I know that he will never be able to be willing to rest, and the revenge of dark forces will only be more intense. And within Guangming campus, I am afraid that my suspicion and use of me will also be added. But I don't care. Whether it is a country or a high-level person, who dares to touch the person I care about, I will let him pay for it. Time magic has evolved to a new realm, and my son's path has just begun. Far away, a low voice came from the sky, as if indicating that a greater storm was coming. The battlegrounds of the northern defense line did not dissipate, and the air was filled with burnt smell and blood. The dream lay in the tent that was built at a time, and the magician surrounded her busy work, and her face finally turned a little bloody from whiteness. I sat beside her, holding her hand. The big stone in my heart relaxed a little, but my brain was still as numb as a bunch of numbness. Jiang Wo ran away, and the battle was never over. His magic of destruction was like a thorn stuck in my heart, and a big hole might be pierced at any time. Zixi, don't always tilt your face and smile. Dream's voice was weak, but with a slight twitch, her fingers moved lightly, as if she wanted to pinch my face. I grinned and smiled hard. What are you laughing at? I'm still stubborn when I get hurt. I'll deal with you when I get rid of you. She laughed with a slight smile, her eyes swelling up. Then I'll wait, don't let him go until then. My heart warmed. I lowered my head and touched her lightly, gritted my teeth and said, don't worry, I can't let him go. But I will never let him go. As the voice fell, a rapid sound of footsteps suddenly came from outside the tent. The old man Lin lifted his hair and walked in, his face as if he was about to drip. He glanced at me and said in a deep voice, Zi, I just received the news that Jiang Wo had not gone far. He brought the dark force to gather in the eastern wasteland, preparing to bet a single shot and launch the last shot. They spoke to level the headquarters of the lighthouse in 3 days and make the entire vast land clear into the night. 3 days? I sneered, stood up, and my fists were clenched. Okay, so I can't help but find him. This time, I'll kill him with my fingers. Chang Lin looked at the eyebrows, as if he wanted to kill me, but looking at the murder in my eyes, he still spoke. High-level means, I hope you can take your team to fight. This is the last battle, and all the troops in the Guangming campaign will be with you. Take the team, but don't expect me to hear you. I threw down coldly and turned to the dream. She bit her lip, her eyes full of worry, but she still said, Zichi, I'll go with you. My injuries have almost been cured. The healing magic can help you. I wanted to refuse, but looking at her stubborn look, I could only grit my teeth and say, okay, but I don't have to come, listen to me. 3 days passed in a flash, and the Guangming camp gathered the last splendor, and 50,000 people drove to the eastern wasteland in a daze. Dreamer and I were at the forefront of the team, and Chief Lin followed behind him with several high-level magicians. The tight atmosphere in the air was so stressful that people couldn't breathe. There were scouts on the road to report that the dark force of troops had already been built in the center of the wasteland, and the black fog covered 100 miles of square miles. The number of demons and men in black robe was as large as locusts. When they founded the country, they were in the Central Army, and their energy was stronger than last time. When we reached the wilderness, the sky was completely dark, and the dark fog was sank in front of us like a wall, and the sound of the roar of the demon and the collision of metal were hidden in it. I stood on the high ground, looking far away at the black fog, and the fighting in my heart burned like fire. The dream stood beside me, holding the staff tightly, and said in a short voice, Zishi, if this battle is won, we can live a peaceful life, right? I must win. I turned to her and grinned, when Jiang Wo is killed, I will take you to see the most beautiful scenery in mainland China. Who should not think of us anymore? She looked red, with a little head, and her eyes full of expectations. The whole army is ready to attack. With the order of Chief Lin, the troops in the light army began to push forward, and the magician's staff lit up 5 colors of light, and the warriors raised their swords and their roars shook the sky. Before I could wait for them, I raised my hand and remembered the time. The hundreds of dark force soldiers in the black fog in front of me were instantly fixed on the spot. I rushed up, and with the acceleration of time, I knocked down a few punches and teared a hole. Kill! Follow the slap. The soldiers behind him were very excited, and they followed as if they were blowing chicken blood. The army of light and dark forces instantly killed each other, and the sound of magic explosions and sword collisions became one. The dream followed me tightly, and the healing magic kept adding to me, helping me recover the wounds that were scratched by the dark magic. I gritted my teeth and shook it, and the magic wheels came up, slammed, accelerated, and twisted. The enemy fell in front of me like paper. But the amount of dark force was actually too large, and the killing wave after wave came. Huge magic was still shattered from the black fog. On the claws and magic, soldiers who were killed in the light Arctic began to continue the drama. Mr. Lin took several high-level magicians to hold a giant magician, but he was still forced to retreat during the day, making his face look extremely hard. Zixuan, you can't delay it anymore. Zhang Wo has not shown up yet. We must fight quickly. Chan Laolin shouted at me, with a hurricane in his voice. I clicked the head and turned the head to say to the dream, Huawei, find a safe place, I'll go to the Chinese army to find Zhang Wo. She gritted her teeth and said, No, I'll be with you, don't try to throw me away. I didn't have time to fight with her, and gritted my teeth and said, Then let's get in touch, don't lose the team. I carried my dreams and started with all my strength. I was like a thunder that penetrated into the depths of the black fog. The enemy along the way could not hold me back at all. Several black robe heads tried to attack with dark magic, but my time was twisted and turned into a group, and even my own people were cut down. I ignored them, aiming directly at the most heavy black fog of the Chinese army, and the atmosphere of building the country is there. Finally, the black fog scattered a little, and I saw a huge black throne. Zhang Wo sat on it, his body scattered with a breath of destruction, holding a black staff in his hand, his eyes as cold as if he was looking at a dead person. When he saw me coming, he sneered out of the corner of his mouth, Zishi, I didn't expect you to come and die. The power of the core of time and space has definitely made you stronger, but today, I want you to know what real hope is. I hope? I will let you look absolutely today. I growled, and the time burst out instantly. The area of 100 meters was fixed by me, and Zhang Wo's body froze for a moment. I took the opportunity to rush up, and with the acceleration of my blessing, I punched him in the chest, and the fist brought the sound of the air and hit hard. But Zhang Wo just hummed a sigh of relief, and the black fog around his body instantly exploded. My fist seemed to hit the iron wall, and my hand bones were almost cracked. He sneered and raised his hand, and a magic spell hit me straight at me, so fast that I couldn't react at all. The dream suddenly rushed to me, and the magic light shone brightly, helping me to hold back some of the injuries, but she herself was shocked and vomited blood, her face as white as paper. Go! My eyes suddenly turned red, and my anger erupted like a volcano. I hugged her and stepped back a few times, gritted my teeth and said, You retreat, let me hand it over. She shook her head and said, I won't leave, you can't have anything to do. My heart was so sad, and I gritted my teeth and put her behind a big stone, turned around and stared at Zhang Wo, almost speaking from my teeth, Zhang Wo, your mother will die today. Do you die? I'll kill you. Zhang Wo laughed loudly, his staff slammed, and the magic of the destruction rolled over like a sea. The ground along the way was torn apart, and the air was burned. I gritted my teeth and spent time slapping the first attack, but his power was too strong, and the slapping effect only lasted for 3 seconds before it collapsed. I took the time to speed up again, barely avoiding the fatal blow, but I was still covered with blood marks on my body, which made me suck my breath. Zijia, then. The dream suddenly threw a magic light from behind, which helped me recover a little bit of injury, but her face was even worse, and it was obvious that the magic power was almost exhausted. I gritted my teeth and shouted, Don't use it anymore, protect yourself. She reluctantly strengthened her head, but her eyes were still full of worry. Zhang Wo approached with a sneer, his breath filled with mockery, It's so touching. Unfortunately, your piercing in front of me was just a joke. He raised his hand to condense a huge black energy ball. His energy was 10 times stronger than before, and it was obvious that he had to solve me with one blow. I looked at the energy ball, and an unprecedented pressure surged in my heart. The magic power was almost over. I couldn't use magic for a few times. How could I really fall in this place? Zixuan, hide. The dream suddenly shouted. All the sounds were terrifying. I gritted my teeth and took the time to flow back. The scene was back a few seconds ago, and I reluctantly avoided this blow, but Jiang Wo seemed to have expected it. As soon as he swung his staff, another black light hit my chest. I couldn't react at all. I was about to be hit, and I felt a slight feeling in my heart and was ready to bear it. But at this moment, a strange force suddenly emerged from the depths of the brain, as if the core of time and space was finally activated. The origin of time magic was crazy and frantically moved within my body, as if it had broken a boundary. I growled, my eyes were red, and the magic inside my body was like a scattered. The whole person was wrapped in blue and white light, and the wound instantly reunited, and the power rose to a terrifying realm. Build a country and die for me. I yelled, and the ultimate power of time magic exploded. This time it was not a rush, nor was it a rewind or accelerated, but a brand new force, time reversed. I raised my hand and the space around me seemed to be twisted by force. Jiang Wo's black energy ball directly retreated into his hands. Even his injuries recovered to the state of a few minutes ago, but the shock on his face could not be hidden. What power is this? Jiang Wo finally changed his face, and there was a trembling sound in his voice. I sneered, and the time reversed the movement again. This time, the destruction magic in his body was directly reversed, allowing his power to retaliate against himself. His whole body seemed to be hit by an invisible giant bell, spitting out a large mouthful of blood, kneeling to the ground, and even his staff fell aside. Impossible, how could time magic be so powerful? Jiang Wo gritted his teeth and looked full of incredible. I didn't give him a chance to breathe. With the acceleration of time, I rushed to him and punched him in the chest. The time was twisted and exploded, causing his defense to collapse instantly, and his chest to sink directly. The whole person flew out of 10 meters and fell to the ground, covered in blood. Building the country, your eternal night is broken. I gasped and stood in front of him. The power of time reversed flowed again. This time, he directly locked his vitality, making his body aging rapidly, and his skin was dry, and his eyes were bleak. He tried to get up, but he was no longer in strength and his voice was as if he was like a ghost. Zixu, you won, but the darkness will never die. Never die. Then I will bury it with my own hands. I snorted coldly, raised my hand in the last blow. The power of time reverse drained his vitality. He let out a roar of unwillingness, and finally fell down, his body turned into a group of black fogs, dissipating in the air. The master of dark power, the founding of the country was so wiped out by me. With Jiang Wo's death, the dark fog around quickly dissipated, and the dark force seemed to have lost its core. The military spirit collapsed in an instant. The demons and the men in the black robe fled and scattered. The soldiers in the light army burst into a shocking cry, Jiang Wo is dead. Ziao wins. We win. I stood there, gasping for breath, and my body was trembling. This battle consumed all my strength, but the pleasure of crushing the enemy in my heart simply made people die. Zixuan. The dream came from behind and rushed into my eyes, and his eyes flowed down, you're fine. It's great. I thought. I would never see you again. I hugged her and grinned, fool, I said I wanted to take you to see the scenery, why would there be something wrong? Jiang Wo is dead, no one can hold us in the future. She burst into tears and smiled, leaning against my chest, her voice as light as a mosquito, humming, well, no one can hold it. I looked down at her face, and my heart seemed to be filled with warm currents. At this moment, all the fatigue and pain were worth it. Mr. Lin came over with people and looked at the place where Jiang Wo disappeared, and his face was filled with shock. Zixi, you actually killed Jiang Wo. The power of magic at this time has surpassed all the rumors. I glanced at him coldly and said, translation? I am telling you. The war is over. remember your promises and don't come and complain to me and Juan again." He was busy with awe in his language. "Don't worry, the high level has been decided to entrust you as the balance guardian of light and darkness. Your position will be above all the camps. No one dares to move you and the dream girl." I pointed at the head, and didn't say anything anymore, but just held the dream and turned away from the battlefield. After the war, the mainland began to be rebuilt, and the light and the remaining dark forces reached a certain balance and no longer killed each other. Dream and I did not stay in the area, but chose to travel around the world to help those villages and towns that were destroyed by the war to rebuild our homes. Every time I arrived, people looked at me with admiration, and some even knelt down and called me Master Guardian. The scene made me feel a little uncomfortable, but I felt quite happy in my heart. A few months later, I brought my dreams to a cliff on the east side of the mainland. The scenery here is as beautiful as paintings, with blue sky and white clouds, the waves slamming against the reefs, and the sun is on my body, warm. I took her hand, stood on the cliff, and grinned. "Yang," I said, "I would take you to see the most beautiful scenery, but now I promised it. How are you satisfied?" She looked at the scenery in front of her, her eyes were as bright as stars, and she turned into me and said with a smile, "I'm so satisfied. Zixuan, thank you. No matter how dangerous it is, you protect me, and now we can finally calm down." I touched her head, my heart was full of steadfastness, and said in a low voice, "Still peace is stable, but the road ahead is still long. Let's go together, no matter what kind of storm or trouble he is, I will accompany you." She slapped her head, her eyes were red, and her voice was choked. "Okay, let's go together forever." I hugged her and looked at the sea level far away, and my heart was unprecedentedly calm. Jiang Wo died and the war ended. The taboo power of time magic became a legend in the vast world. My son, and finally stood from a wastewood despised by his family, to the forbidden world guardian of light and darkness, and his name was engraved in history. The sea breeze brings a fresh smell. Dream and I smiled at each other and walked away with my hands. This vast land has been fighting for thousands of years and finally ushered in peace, and our journey has just begun. From now on, whether it is light or darkness, it will become the past under our feet. My son, with these two hands, guarded everything I care about in the future of this land.